1978 was a turning point for the Ford Thunderbird, and if you blink, you might miss why this car quietly saved the nameplate. Before we even get into the details, take 1 second and picture this. Luxury was getting expensive, gas was getting scarce, and America was changing fast. Ford had two choices: let the Thunderbird fade away, or reinvent it. If you enjoy deep dives into classic American cars like this, make sure you're subscribed now, because this story only gets better as we go. This Thunderbird belongs to a short but important chapter in Ford history, a generation enthusiasts often call the Torino Bird. It only lasted 3 model years, but those years mattered. By the late 70s, Ford realized the Thunderbird couldn't survive as a massive, ultra-expensive personal luxury coupe anymore. People still wanted style, comfort, and presence, just without the overwhelming size and price tag. So Ford moved the Thunderbird onto the Torino platform, trimmed things down, and aimed it at a wider audience. And surprisingly, it worked. Sales improved almost immediately. The Thunderbird felt more approachable, more usable, and still special enough to stand apart from ordinary coupes. This 1978 example, especially in Diamond Jubilee trim, shows how Ford tried to balance affordability with flair. One glance at the front end tells you they weren't ready to give up on drama. Hidden headlamps returned, and they brought back a sense of elegance the Thunderbird had been missing for a few years. When they work properly, those doors glide open with confidence, and when they don't, they remind you this is still a 70s Ford. There's also a subtle nod to earlier Thunderbird design up front. The pointed hood shape and the grille's center peak give it a quiet sense of motion, even while standing still. Ford leaned into an egg crate grille texture here, something traditionally associated with luxury cars, and it fits the Thunderbird's personality well. It's not flashy in a modern way, but it carries a certain restrained confidence. Move to the side, and the design becomes more honest and straightforward. The body lines are simple, almost conservative, but intentional. The front fenders rise gently before tapering toward the rear, giving the car a smoother flow than some of its bulkier predecessors. One of the most recognizable features is the wide sail panel with the small opera window, a design choice that instantly dates the car, but also defines it. This Diamond Jubilee example adds a padded vinyl roof, making the cabin feel private, almost lounge-like. You don't sit in this car, you settle into it. The proportions are pure late 70s Ford. Long overhangs, especially up front, and a stance that prioritizes comfort over aggression. It may not look athletic, but it looks composed. Out back, the Thunderbird keeps its tradition of wide tail lamps, stretching across the rear with a distinctive center section in the deck lid. The Thunderbird emblems built into the lenses are a classy touch, and the color-keyed bumper guards remind you that this was meant to feel upscale, even if Ford was watching costs more carefully now. Step inside, and the Diamond Jubilee trim really makes its case. The seats are soft, deeply cushioned, and trimmed in plush materials designed for long, relaxed drives. This isn't a cockpit built for speed, it's built for comfort. The dashboard is thickly padded on top, a reminder of new safety standards, while the lower sections feel more utilitarian. Still, the overall atmosphere is warm and inviting. You get a full gauge cluster, including a tachometer, even though performance was never the primary goal here. It's more about feeling informed than feeling fast. Under the hood, most of these cars were powered by Ford's familiar V8 options. This one carries a 351 cubic inch engine, tuned for smoothness and torque rather than excitement. Emissions equipment held power numbers back, and you feel it if you push the throttle hard. But around town and on the highway, the car moves with ease. It doesn't rush, and it doesn't need to. This Thunderbird was designed to cruise, not compete. One area where Ford surprisingly went all in was the trunk. Open it up, and you're greeted with thick, fully carpeted trim that feels almost excessive by today's standards. It's the kind of detail that tells you Ford still cared about the Thunderbird's luxury image, even as they tried to keep the price reasonable. Looking back, the Torino Bird era did exactly what it needed to do. It stabilized the Thunderbird, brought buyers back into showrooms, and kept the name alive long enough for the next big transformation. The generation that followed would stumble, but the aerodynamic Thunderbird of the early 80s would eventually rise again and redefine the car completely. And that's what makes this 1978 Diamond Jubilee Thunderbird so interesting. It's not the fastest, not the rarest, and not the most famous, but it might be one of the most important. It represents a moment when Ford listened to the market, adapted, and kept an American icon from disappearing. Now I'm curious which Thunderbird generation speaks to you the most? The early classics, the big birds, the Torino Birds, or the sleek Aero cars that came later? Let me know in the comments, and if you think another Thunderbird fan would enjoy this story, share it with them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next classic.